Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic afternoon, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this. Here in Edmonton, it is a overcast, rainy day, quite cold actually, 12 Celsius, which for June is quite cold. In this episode of the Music Den, I'm going to be doing another top five album ranking. And for this band, I picked albums that went across their catalog over the years, from 70s up into the 2020s. The band is Styx, and Styx are an interesting band. I've seen messages about the band lately over the past, say, a couple of years that state that Dennis DeYoung should rejoin the band. Now, the history of Styx is that Dennis DeYoung hooked up with two brothers, Chuck and John Panozzo, in Chicago, and joined by John Królewski on guitar and James J.Y. Young on guitar and vocals. They released their debut album, self-titled, in 1972. Released a string of albums all through the 70s. They basically started out as a hard rock / progressive band, mixing hard rock elements, heavy guitar, with a lot of swirling, very textured keyboard elements, a lot of heavy harmony vocals provided by Dennis DeYoung, beautifully done, combined with John Królewski in the beginning and J.Y. Young, James J.Y. Young. Królewski left the band in 1975 to concentrate on his family. He unfortunately passed away from a brain aneurysm he suffered in his home at the age of 37 in 1988. When he left the band, Tommy Shaw joined. They released their first album with Tommy Shaw in 1976 called Crystal Ball. They then released some people would call their seminal album, The Grand Illusion, on July 7th, 1977, selling upwards around 3 million copies. And some information says that they have sold 6 million copies. Could very well have done. Unfortunately, the RIAA, can't even say that properly, does not keep track very much of the sales of certain albums. So you have to go by what you can find online to read up and know what's going on. The group went along pretty smoothly with this lineup up until around 1983. They released Kilroy Was Here, a concept album that was thought up by Dennis DeYoung. Did a tour of the album, which did not go well. They then went their separate ways, embarked on solo careers. They reunited in the 90s to record. Dennis DeYoung left the band again in 1999. He had developed a condition that left him sensitive to light, and he was quite fatigued. He was quite tired. He was doing a musical and writing the music for the musical and everything, and it left him physically depleted. He could not tour with Styx. They opted to carry on without him, causing a rift within the band and him, obviously, and among fans of the band. Now, I'm of the belief, and I've always said this, they're exes for a reason. Now, people can say on Facebook or wherever and say, go on and say, what, it, unless you have these certain members in the band, it's no longer that band. Like they should just call it quits. Personally, it's not up to me or you as a fan to decide whether a band should quit or when a band should quit. It's up to the band. And if the band wanted to continue without Dennis DeYoung, that is their prerogative, their choice. Oh, the sun's coming up. Sorry. They, after parting ways with Dennis DeYoung again, they did a tour. They did a show in Montreal, and the opening act was a Canadian musician by the name of Lawrence Gowan, who had a successful recording career in Canada, was signed to Columbia, Sony, and had albums released in the 80s. He joined the band, and he has been with the band, I believe, since about 1999, releasing albums. Their latest release is The Crash of the Crown in 2021. So it does not look like Dennis DeYoung will be joining Styx again. They may change their mind. They may do a tour of all of the band members together with Gowan and DeYoung in the group. I don't know. I doubt it, but you never know. What I've tried to do again with this listing, with this ranking, is to choose the albums that would go span across their career. Okay, from present day back to the 70s. So, coming in at number 5 is Crash of the Crown. Released through Universal Music. Previous to this, they were signed in the 70s to A&M Records. Before A&M Records, they were signed to Wooden Nickel Music. They've been signed to CRC Music, and which is, I don't believe it was, I believe it's CRC International, which I don't believe is in business anymore. But back to the ranking here. Crash of the Crown for me comes in at number 5. It's a fantastic album. It's a short album. It's like 42 minutes or something like that. But it is a fantastic album. A lot of harmony vocals, a lot of harmony guitar, and fantastic, beautiful textured keyboard passages provided by Lawrence Gowan. The songs of note for me, there are 15 tracks on the album, and it's the songs are short. They're not sprawling 7-minute epics. They're which is what Styx were known for in the 70s. The songs range, I think the maximum time for a track is like 5 minutes. Okay. But what I like about this album is that all the members, all the vocalists get a shot at the mic and contribute to the album in terms of their vocal ability. The title track, Crash of the Crown, features JY on lead vocals at the start of the track, and the group, along with Gowan and the group, they contribute their harmony parts. Other songs of note are Reveries, which features Gowan on lead vocals. Fantastic. It's a fantastic track, and it is one of the singles of the album. And other songs of note on the album are Fight of Our Lives, which starts off the album. It is a good album. Unfortunately, it only, I think, got up to number 114 on the album charts, but it reached number 17 on various independent US charts. So I don't know why this album didn't do as well as it should have. I do believe that this album should be listened to as a whole. I don't believe that it should be chopped up into sound bites. Obviously, singles need to be released from the album to promote it. And I don't know why, again, that this album was not given the chance. It should have been given a chance. They really should have. Coming in at number 4 for me is Equinox. Released in 1975. Again, this was their debut release for A&M. And this is a much more of, I would say, of a rocking album. Heavy guitars, um, interlaced with a lot of beautiful keyboard passages. Again, by Mr. Dennis DeYoung, of course. This is the last album to feature John Krylewski with the band. He left after the tour. I do believe this is the album that they opened with Queen on a few dates. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that this is the album. Songs of note are Light Up, which starts off the album, Lorelei, which was a single, Mother Dear, which features fantastic co-lead vocal and harmony vocal with Krylewski and DeYoung. Amazing, just amazing. The instrumental also, Prelude 12, which is like a minute and 23 seconds. Beautiful acoustic interlude. You could call it from John Krylewski. Also, Sweet Man in Blue, which ends off the album. Amazing, just a beautiful piece of work. Coming in at number 3 is Crystal Ball. Released in 76. It's the first album to feature Tommy Shaw as a member of the band. What can I say about this album? This album almost made my number 1. It almost made my number 1. It's a fantastic album. Fantastic album. You got to understand too, the 70s, like late 60s and through the 70s, let's say about until 78, you were allowed as a band to grow, to develop your sound, to hone your musical chops, as it were. You were allowed to have 2 or 3 albums released before you released an album that was a hit. These days, forget about it. That would never happen. You know, would have a better chance in getting pregnant with a 3-headed baby, and instead of having, as opposed to having the chance to develop your catalog and develop your sound as an artist. It doesn't happen. With with Crystal Ball, you had the title track, which features Tommy Shaw on lead vocals on the verses, and you hear the harmonies come in with Dennis DeYoung on the choruses. It's a fantastic piece of work. That one track. The lead off track on the album, Put Me On, is just powerful. It is fantastic because Dennis DeYoung and Young and Shaw come in on the harmonies right away. And it's a fast pace, starts out very fast paced, breakneck tempo kind of a situation on the drums, and it just grabs your attention, grabs you by the throat, or by the scruff of the neck or the throat, and just pulls you in and demands your attention to be listened to. Mademoiselle is another track that is great. It's whimsical, it's melodic, it's beautiful. Actually, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. This Old Man is another track sung by Dennis DeYoung, and it basically is someone who is looking at his life at the young age that he is, and he's basically taking cues from the people around him, society as a whole. Um, the phrase "this so man," I think it's used as a just as a metaphor. And it's basically saying, look at your life, look at your surroundings, look at what you have, and don't take it for granted. You know, um, the album ends off. There's 7 tracks on the album. The album ends off with Claire de Lune / Ballerina, and Claire de Lune is a takeoff, an arrangement from Debussy. It's a piano intro, and it's been altered. The key's been changed to the key of C, because I believe Ballerina starts in C minor. So they just changed the key just so that the transition into Ballerina would be more smoother, not as sharp, and not as a drastic of a change. Fantastic, fantastic. This track, Claire de Lune and Ballerina, are the reason why I was going to put this at number one. Yes, the other track, Shoes, is okay. It starts off as like in a swing arrangement, but this song, Claire de Lune Ballerina, for me, made the album. So it almost made number one, almost. Coming in at number two is Paradise Theater. Released in 1981. This is a fantastic album. It starts off with it's well, first off, it's a concept album, and it talks about a fictitious theater in Chicago called the Paradise Theater that opened in 1928, and all of the adventures that happened at the theater, the shows and the romances and the breakups, and the tribulations that happened at the theater between 1958 and until it closed in 1928. Sorry, my correction, 1928, until it closed in 1958, 30 years later. First of all, the concept was written by Dennis DeYoung. And I gotta tell you, his ability to deliver a harmony vocal and a melody, unbloody real. It starts off with AD 1928, and it's very melodic piano keyboard intro, and DeYoung is singing, and he is singing a heartfelt vocal to his love. And then it breaks into Rockin' the Paradise. Unreal. Killer as an intro. Then it goes into Too Much Time on My Hands. The the Tommy Shaw composition, which was released as a single. And it's a fantastic side one, is a fantastic side. It's and then there's also The Best of Times, the ballad The Best of Times, which I guess you could say is a power ballad, but I wouldn't even call it that. Side two, features the track Snowblind, which is great. Another, which was a concert favorite. And it ends off with AD 1958. And it's the closing of the album where it ties it all together as a concept, where, they're saying that they have to shut down the theater. They thank you for your patronage. They thank you for all the memories that you created there. And they hope that the memory of the Paradise Theater will live on in your hearts and in your mind, So that's number number two. Coming in at number one is The Grand Illusion. Sorry, it had to be put in there. Uh, Released July 7th, 1977. Uh, again through A&M. What can I say about this album? Quite a bit. I, as a kid, remember would have been about 7 years old. No, 6 years old. I hadn't turned seven yet. And I remember hearing the track, Come Sail Away on the radio, and just remembering Dennis DeYoung's vocal on that track, and just the sprawling keyboards and the imagery that the song would conjure up for you. I mean, as a kid, you don't know. I mean, as a 7-year-old or 6-year-old, you don't know. You're not putting it together what the songs mean. But as I've said in other videos, music was always on in our house. So because of my sisters. So this track was on the radio all the time. And I remember hearing this in the school bus on the way to school, and coming home. So, yeah, Come Sail Away, massive hit, classic track. Other tracks of note are the title track. And this is one of those albums that, has a beginning and an ending. The title track, The Grand Illusion, and the grand finale bookend the album. So it ties it all together. Other tracks of note are Superstars, which features, again, Dennis DeYoung's vocals and his harmonies on this album in particular. It's just stellar, just unbloody real. Other songs of note are, I mentioned Superstars, Fooling Yourself, Angry Young Man, Miss America, Castle Walls, and the final track, the grand finale, which has elements of Superstars and Come Sail Away mixed into the melodies on the track, and it ties up the album beautifully. I know it might be a bit of an easy way out to pick The Grand Illusion, and I was going to pick Crystal Ball as my number one, but I mean, when I looked at the track listing and the memories it conjured up, this had to be number one. So, I mean, just as a recap, number one, Grand Illusion. Number two, Paradise Theater. Number three, Crystal Ball. Number four, Equinox. And number five, Crash of the Crown. So that's my list. Please, down below, down there, please put your ranking of your top 5 Styx albums. Do you like Styx? Let me know too. Do you like Styx? Do you not like Styx? Do you think that Dennis DeYoung should be in the band and they should kick Larry Gowan out? I don't know. Leave me your opinions again down below, and there are no wrong or right answers. It's just opinions, right? And again, please click like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. I'm going to be doing the Pink Floyd ranking with Bill Schuster and hopefully Ryan Gavalier in July. I'm going to be possibly doing a show with Grant Arthur of Grant's Rock Warehouse sometime in July. We're going to be looking at doing an episode of Misguided or Misunderstood. He just has to pick an album to talk about. And yeah, that's it for now. Hopefully you guys having a great day. and looking after yourselves and one another. And I will be back soon with another video. So for now, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.